Hello, and welcome to the employee demonstration of how to certify a time and effort report. Today we're just going to briefly go over a summary of the updates we've made to the new time and effort reporting system. We're going to learn how to certify a time and effort report, talk about responsibilities, where you can find resources, and who you can contact if you have questions. So just a quick summary of the updates that we've made to the system based on valuable input we've received from you as the employee, supervisors, and PIs. One of the first things we did based on input is we did change the workflow order. And when we say workflow, we mean approval. In the first reporting cycle, the workflow order was it first went to the employee to review and approve, then it went to your supervisor, and then the last step was the PI. Based on feedback we received, supervisors and employees preferred for the PIs to be the middle approver and supervisors to be last. So we have changed the work order flow. It will still go to the employee first. Then it will route to the PIs for them to approve the portions charged to grants or sponsored awards. And then the last approver will be whoever is listed as your supervisor. Another change that we made, you will now be able to view that workflow routing or approval routing prior to approving the form. And you can also use the view a grant report option to view not only reports that you've already approved, but any pending reports. So for prior periods, you'll also be able to go back and see any previous reports that you've approved. We've also updated the certification language to include "to the best of my knowledge and belief." And going forward, PIs will only be able to toggle the funding or distribution lines where they're listed as the PI, unless they are also listed as the supervisor for that particular employee. So who should expect a time and effort report? A time and effort report will automatically be generated for any employee where a portion of their salary is either directly charged to a sponsored project or used as cost share on a sponsored project. And reports will be released for certification by your college or department's business manager or administrator. So you should receive the following email notification once a report has been submitted to you or released to you for certification. It'll say action required. It'll list your name, your primary department as listed in HCM, the time period of the report, the reporting period of the report, and it'll say it's ready for your review, and it'll have the e-form number associated with that. The email will contain a link to the report, or you can also log directly in to HCM Peoplesoft and search for the report. We do ask that once you receive this notification that you log in immediately to review and approve. Certification should be completed within 30 days, and when we say completed, that means approved through all the approvers, not just the employee, not just your certification, but all the subsequent approvers as well. So please, as soon as you receive these notifications, take immediate action. So again, once you receive that notification, you can either click on the link within the email or log directly into Peoplesoft HCM using the link below, and then navigate to My Workplace, select the Grant Time and Effort tile, and then select Certify a Grant Report. So now we're going to jump in to HCM Peoplesoft and demonstrate. So this is Peoplesoft HCM, and it automatically defaults to the employee self-service page. So when we say navigate to My Workplace, you'll select the drop-down, select My Workplace, and the Grant Time and Effort tile. And then on the left-hand side, you should have two options, Certify a Grant Report or View, and you'll select Certify a Grant Report. And at this point, you can search by a variety of different mechanisms. You can enter in the form ID number, but we just recommend you hit search. If you're only certifying your report and only have one report, it's going to populate and pop up and open automatically. But let's say you are also an approver on other reports, you might have a a list of reports that pop up in addition to your own. So just be aware that if there's only one pending report like your own, it's going to automatically pop up. So we're just going to hit search. And just as expected, in our example, we're the employee, Harry Potter, and we're going to review the funding associated with this reporting period, which is January through June of 2020. And we can see the reporting period begin date and end date. And again, this is related to earnings date. So depending on whether or not you're paid currently or on a lag, just remember it's the date of earnings that you earned it, not necessarily when you were paid. And we can see here that we were charged to 3 different sponsored projects. And then we had university accounts or non-sponsored accounts, which was an e-fund of this amount. So the first step as the employee, I'm going to review the percent of pay or the percent effort and determine whether or not, one, did I work on these grants? And in this case, it's all recorded as cost share. If it was directly charged to a grant, it would be this information here would be populated here. In this example, it's all reported under cost share. So the first question you want to ask yourself is, well, did I work on these grants or these sponsored awards? The answer hopefully should be yes. And then the second question is, well, did I spend about 10%, 20%, and another 20% on these awards? Is that reasonable? Is that representative of how I spent my time? And if the answer is yes, then you can select and toggle these buttons over to the left-hand side from no to yes. If the answer is no, then you need to place a comment down here at the bottom and describe why it's incorrect. So if you did not work on project 8359 at all, the EDA grant, then you need to say, I did not work, or I only spent 10% of my time versus 20% of my time. And it needs, that other 10% needs to be directed to project 108372. The USC Center for Applied Innovation is what I'm guessing. That probably is. Then you need to notate with a comment and recycle the form. A recycled form will then go back to your business manager for them to make those necessary corrections, and then the report will be updated and then come back to you for review and approval. But for the purpose of this evaluation, we're going to concur that we did spend our time as outlined on this report. And if we're not really sure if we wanted additional details or information, you can always click on the details tab and it'll kind of give you like what check dates if you need help with jogging your memory or things of that nature. Or if you need to provide additional information to the business manager, like, hey, I didn't work on it in June, or whatever the case may be. You need to move June payroll from this project, things of that nature. It just gives you an additional tool to help communicate information between you and your approvers and your business manager. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to concur that this is reasonable, and we're going to toggle all these lines from no to yes. And we're in a training environment, so forgive the delay. Just be patient with it. But you'll notice one of the updates that we made is now, if you want to know who else is going to see this report before you approve it, you can actually click View Approval Routing, and you can see exactly where this form is going to go. Harry Potter is a very important celebrity. He's a bigwig, so his supervisor is actually listed as the president himself. So the president will be the last approver of this form. And then the PIs associated with these projects will also get to approve prior to the supervisor seeing it. But right now it's pending with us as the employee. So that's the current stage that this form is at. And so, of course, once you certify all the lines, the last step is doing your acknowledgement or your certification. And again, the other change that we made, we added To the best of my knowledge and belief, I certify that the payroll percentages reasonably reflect my effort and are consistent with the work I performed during this reporting period. And this acknowledgement will not populate until all these lines are toggled to yes. So if this line isn't toggled, the acknowledgement disappears. So you have to toggle all the lines, distribution lines to yes before that acknowledgement will appear. And you cannot approve the form until you place your certification or acknowledgement on it. So we're going to acknowledge and we're going to approve the form. So now our certification as the employee is complete. And you can see here that you've successfully approved your e-form and it's been routed to the next approval step. And you can also click View Approval Route here and you can see we've completed our step and it's approved. And now it is pending at the parallel or the PI approval step. And if you open up signature action logs, you can see that your acknowledgement or certification has been recorded, both here and here. And you also have the option to click print if you should ever want, and it will give you a PDF version of the report should you ever want to keep it for your records or anything of that nature, detailing all that information. So from this point, you are done. You have certified your report. So once you complete your certification, as we mentioned, the report will route to the PIs of the project your salary was charged for them to review and certify. And then the last step will be your primary supervisor. And again, if a correction is requested at any step by any person in that workflow, the form will be recycled and it'll route back to the business manager to make those adjustments. And then the business manager will have to resubmit the form and it'll go through all of the approvers again to recertify. So employee responsibilities as a non-PI or non-principal investigator, your responsibility is just to make sure that you review the salary charged, the projects, and make sure that they're reasonable. It's a reasonable representation of how your time was spent. And again, if you ever have questions or concerns, reach out to that business manager. And if you're not sure who that is, you can always go to that that page where it lists who initiated the form or who the last operator was, and that'll tell you who submitted the form to you if you ever have questions. So if you're a PI, obviously you want to make sure that your salary charged is a reasonable representation of how your time was spent, but you also want to make sure that that effort is consistent with effort that you may have already reported via progress reports, submitted to the sponsor, or any other communications that you may have had with your sponsor. And you want to make sure that all the awards in which you're serving as a PI on are represented appropriately, whether it's directly charged or cost shared. And make sure that you're reviewing effort to ensure there aren't any issues with overcommitment of time. And again, if you ever have questions or concerns, make sure you're coordinating and keeping your business manager in the loop so that y'all can make those adjustments together. So where can you go to find resources? You can go to the Office of the Controller website under Grants and Funds Management. There's a whole host of webinars and trainings out there on how to use this time and effort reporting system regardless of your role. Training aids, PDF versions of training aids are available in addition to additional demonstration videos. And again, if you have any questions, please contact your business manager.